You know, we've enjoyed these tank water holes for a long time, and we'll take you out to one of my favorite sites. We have a few favorite water hole sites because it seems like we shoot a lot of deer over the water holes, and we've learned a few things over the years. Now I want to show you the difference here. This is a 300-gallon tank right here, 300-gallon. You can see how big they are. They're about 63 inches by 69, and they're 25 inches deep. You go to a 150 over here. And this 150 obviously is half the size, but it's still the same depth. So it's 25 inches deep. And we like this depth. Don't like the kiddie pools, don't like the shallow ponds, because there's evaporation that occurs. And what we're finding is we want to have that balance of a certain amount of depth. And I'll show you where it's out of balance. It'll be a 55-gallon drum, stood vertically, great depth. Great lack of evaporation because there's not a lot of surface area compared to the total number of gallons, but it's just not lasting long enough because those deer don't want to stick their head down into that bucket, so they might use the first 4 or 5 inches and that's it. The 150s are a little bit of a happy medium, but not enough to me. And we've seen deer step into these. They'll get down on their knees, but it's 150 gallons. So even though we're not getting great evaporation because that surface area to total number of gallons is fairly good ratio, it's only 150 gallons. So that brings up another point. You know, we started out with 27.5-gallon tanks 20 years ago. They are 55-gallon drums cut in half, so they're like a trough. We found the deer would go through those in about a week with drought, and it didn't last very long. And you look at these 150s, well, you think they're gonna last a lot more, but if we've had a lot of drought falls lately. So if you get a drought fall where you're not getting any rain, you're getting less than an inch over a month period of time, moderate deer usage, you're going to go through about 100 gallons a month. So when you go through 100 gallons a month, that's down to 7, 8 inches, 10 inches off the bottom. Deer either have to step inside or it has to be a big enough deer to get on its knees and get down there. And that kind of elevates the game for deer not using it. It's the more shallow you get, there's a point where it's super dry, they'll go get that, but again, you're only talking 6 weeks. So if our season starts in mid-September, we're putting water in them early September, then we're only getting to middle of October. We're not even getting to our rut when there's drought. And there's been drought the last 4 or 5 years. 3 or 4 of those years, we've had enough drought that we would have had to fill those 150s 2 to 3 times during the hunting season. And that brings up the 300-gallon. Great surface area to depth, so we're not getting a lot of evaporation out of there. I've seen some that are 15 inches deep and they're 8, 9 feet wide. Those are horrible because of the evaporation, the total lack of depth. You're losing water. And I don't know about you, but we don't have the time to go out and fill 2 to 3 times during the hunting season to make sure we have enough water in our tanks. You're better off using a 150 Rubbermaid right there. And we're not sponsored by Rubbermaid or anything. This is what we believe in. This is what I tell clients to use. It's easy and they're effective. So we'll get a 300-gallon like this, and we fill this in the beginning of September. We're good until these freeze. There's going to be water in there. And because you can see right here, smaller on the base, larger on the top, so the sides go up like this. And when those sides go up like this, when you're down 100 gallons, it's 25 inches deep total. You're only down about 7.5 inches if you do the math, somewhere around there. And then when you go down that next 100 gallons, you're still 10 inches from the bottom. So this deer can easily get down even 200 gallons shallow, you know, that have been taken out, and they can still get down and drink out of that. So those are a few basic setup tips that we've been going through. Very, very important. I believe in this size. We actually have a CAD design for those, and I don't think we're ever going to bring it to market because Rubbermaid makes those tanks at a very cheap cost to them. They make tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands at a time. And so their cost per production is almost less than we would have had to pay for, about the same cost to bring those to production. So, but I believe in that size very much, and have a lot of experience looking at other tanks, other setups, and we dig those in all the way down. So that's another commitment with these right here. 63 by 69 inches, 25 inches deep. Takes a lot of work to dig it down. We've dug a lot out by shovel. Dylan dug a lot out by shovel, and I don't think we've dug any of the 300 gallons out by shovel, have we?
You haven't made me do any. I'm very thankful
Yeah,
for that.
yeah, you're welcome, Dylan. But anyways, that's been machine work to get those in, skid steer or mini excavator to get those in, and I highly recommend that because we want those lips down below grade. That appears the most natural. When you have even this much sticking above the ground right here, we've had deer stop, stomp their feet, look at it, walk way around. All it takes is that mature buck. You don't get him on your property that much during the daylight. He's just not moving around. He comes in the end of October, sees it for the first time. He's likely not coming anywhere near it, and he just doesn't have the time to get used to it that year, because typically on a good property, those mature bucks live somewhere else during the summertime, not on your own land. We like those buried down. The does and fawns have to get used to it, let alone those mature bucks. The does and fawns that are around all the time have to get used to it. So we really like burying those in all the way, and it takes some extra effort. So that's some of the basic tips for why we use the water holes we do. We expect them to last for 10 years or longer. They don't crack. You have to make sure there's drain valves on the bottom. We actually take those out and we plumber's tape or seal them so that when we put them back in, they're not leaking out of there. That is one place they can leak. And but outside of that, we're putting a critter stick in them and keep making sure the little squirrels and rodents can get out. But let's go take a look at this, because I have some very specific setup tips for how I like to hunt over these and how it relates to everything else we're doing. So let's go take a look at one of my favorite waterhole setups. Well, this is one of my favorite setups here, and you'll notice, and this is a really strong belief of mine and experience, that we do not put these water holes on a food plot. Now, I would say there are exceptions. We work with people that, boy, this is a really great spot for an 1/8 of an acre hunting plot, and it's also a great spot for a water hole, and they don't have a lot of other water hole locations. Maybe it's a point on the corner of a field. It's going to be a really good inside cruising spot, great spot for bucks. Great spot because there's already a natural little opening, might as well use it. In that case, we'd plant it in a perennial and have a water hole off to the side. But most of the time, we want to separate those. I'd say 95% of the time, because we want that water hole to be in an adjacent to buck bedding area. Food plots typically aren't, and if it's a small hunting plot, then we want hunting plot here, water hole over here, to further define and establish that pattern of use and line of movement so that you can control what they're doing during the daylight more. Very important. They have buck bedding here or down here. They can hit water hole and then go over to this hunting plot. And when they establish that line in between, then on the other side of that little hunting plot, we probably have a big food plot within 200 or 300 yards. And it's just establishing that line where if he's coming back in the morning, he's coming through, it gives you a morning stand over that water hole, an afternoon stand over that water hole, because it's right in the bedding area. It's right on the side. It makes more of that small hunting plot more of an afternoon sit, like where I shot bow a few years ago. And I'm thinking of that in particular right now. We had the water hole over here where I shot the broken buck last year, and then bow over here the year before in the afternoon. Shot one in the morning, 11:30, and the other one in the afternoon. And that kind of underscores why I want these water holes separate from food sources. Food sources are typically afternoon hunting spots. If you go there in the morning, you're spooking deer. And so we want to stay away from those in the morning. Water hole, on the other hand, is a spot where a mature buck will hit all day. Last year at 11:30, that was a great example on water hole that I went into. And so we want this separate, but close. Right up there in the opening, if you see the open sky, I'd say 70 yards away, 80 yards away, is a big food source. Now, we can't hunt on that food source because it's over 2.5 acres. We can hunt with a gun off to the side, but we cannot hunt with a bow because we can't get in on and off that plot without spooking deer. We wouldn't want to do that. So if you have a food source like that, it's okay that you can't bow hunt it, especially if you're just going to spook deer every time you get in and out. That's a terrible thing to do. You're better off not having the food plot at all. Instead, we're right here against this buck bedding area. We have the water hole right here. Stand location is up there, only 25 yards away. So it gives us a perfect shot down into here. And we're off to the side so we can blow our scent out into the open field. Deer will come up out of here, go up to the food, come from the food, hit the water. And we're getting in an area where we're not spooking deer when we get in or out of the stand off of the food plot. So off the food plot, and then you can see right here, this upper side is very well sloped coming down in here. So we get water runoff coming into the water hole right here. We have our critter stick in there so they can climb on that and jump out. But then all the way around here, so I'd say more than 180 degrees or more than half the outside of this plot, deer can freely drink and they're on that level. We have them get down on their knees all the time. It's okay that this lip is exposed by a few inches. I wouldn't want it to be exposed by a foot or a foot and a half. And so the deer can freely drink all the way around this side, and it's well enough off the food source that we can get in and out in this direction without spooking the deer. And great setup. So I hope that makes sense with the size of the tank. We come in here in the spring, haven't done so yet, doesn't look like anyways, but we'll take a garden rake and we'll rake out the leaf debris and stick debris, cleans it up a little bit, and then we'll let the rains take over from there. I want algae growing in here. I want this to be warm and stagnant because that's what a deer is used to drinking out of in the woods. For some reason, they prefer that warmth in that water. They prefer the minerals, nutrients, whatever's in there. They prefer that over a nice, clear creek that you or I would like drinking out of instead. We're not deer. They process most of their moisture out of plants. And so we don't even see them hitting the water holes during the summer that often. These are more of a mid to late October and all the way through December. And if they're open by, for some strange reason in January in Minnesota here where it's cold, then they'll really hit them hard. So very important to set these up separately. Give yourself an all-day spot to hunt as opposed to a small hunting plot off to the side. We have one of those right over here, about 150 yards away. And that one is a small hunting plot that we would hunt more in the afternoon, evening. This is more of that all-day movement. We see bucks in here at all times of the day. And a great spot to sit and a great setup, you know, really adhering to those rules where we have the size tank, we have a minimal surface area compared to the gallons that it's offering. And this is something when we fill this in September, we're good for the season. So that means a lot to us too. So even if it doesn't freeze till December, then we get a lot of months where we can use this and deer can be attracted to this throughout the entire hunting season. So hope you enjoyed these setup tips. We've been doing these for 20 years, over 20 years now. Different sizes, some on the ground too high, some just right. We have some that we've actually dug in almost too far, where it goes down a foot or two and then to the water hole. I prefer those to be almost on level like this and then sloped on one side. But either way, water holes are great to hunt over. And if nothing else, we get a lot of pictures from our cameras. There's one right up there. We enjoy watching these all year because there's all kinds of critters that hit them, let alone the deer and the big bucks that we're after during the fall. Now we are and we own Pure Wildlife Blends Seed Company, and we really want you to try us out. We have about 19 different offerings online. These all go back to my roots of 25 years ago and up to 30 years ago when I first started food plotting. But making these combinations, I sit at the table with our seed supplier, put all these blends together. We use pure seed with no filler, no garbage. And it's early May right now, and it's a great time to start looking at your seed. We do not run out of seed. Doesn't matter if it's switchgrass, clover, perennial blends, our fall blends, whatever it is, we don't run out. We don't want you to come at one point and then we're not here, come back in another, keep looking. We always have it on supply. Wes, our food plot seed manager, is right back there. He's shipping out daily, and really want you to check us out. Of course, we have the web classes. We go to clients every year, almost 300 a year across the country. Books. There's lots of stuff you can check out on our site, lots of free material. But I really urge you to check out purewildlifeblends.com.